I don't think it's a hot take to say that M. Night Shyamalan is a wildly inconsistent director. In fact, Big Ben nailed it in the episode of Trailer Trashed when he said this.
Do you ever find yourself like having a good idea for like a movie and then all of a sudden like you kind of talk yourself out of it? I think he doesn't.
Yeah.
And so it is with Trap, another kind of WTF movie from the infamous director. Fair warning, I will be discussing spoilers, such as they are. There's not that much to this movie, to be honest. Well, let's start at the beginning. The movie opens with Josh Hartnett and his 12-year-old daughter attending a concert by international superstar and tween icon Lady Raven, who is played by M. Night Shyamalan's own daughter, Saleka. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Now, his daughter wrote the original songs and performs the original songs in this movie, so if it had just been a thriller centered around a concert and kind of used as an excuse to showcase his daughter, I think I would have been fine with that. Her songs seem like something tweens would like, and there's some clever bits where all the young girls are singing the songs, and Josh Hartnett is like, I think I've heard this in the car before. You like this one, which feels very much like a father out of touch with the music of the youth would say, so I found that pretty funny and relatable. Before they even get into the event, Hartnett notices there's a massive police presence, and this puts him a bit on edge, yet he's there for his daughter. So he takes videos of her dancing with other girls, he got them expensive seats, and he's clearly sparing no expense on like a father-daughter day. I like these early scenes because not only does it show the tension of the concert slowly being locked down, but because of the way Hartnett interacts with his daughter, he just really feels like he's trying to make the most of it. It's revealed she's been having a tough time at school with a group of mean girls, and he's just trying to brighten her mood. This is kind of important that it sets up that he loves his daughter and cares for her, because then they reveal that he's an infamous serial killer named the Butcher. And now all this is laid out in the trailer, so we already know this, and the movie doesn't waste our time getting to it, so I appreciate that. A surprisingly knowledgeable and exposition-heavy merch vendor fills Hartnett in on the fact that this concert, which is the fourth concert, she added a bonus concert, which is why Hartnett was able to get tickets for it. This concert is now being taken over and used as a sting operation to catch the Butcher. Now, this dialogue is bonkers, and it's sort of like quest objectives in a video game, or if like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with your friends and you're the DM who needs to get the party back on track. So you're like, now this random person will give you some quest exposition. Let's get on to the next thing. So it's really weird. Like, he even says something like, every entrance is protected and you need a code word in case you get stopped. So employee spaces are accessible if you have a badge and know the code word. And he's like, well, can you tell me the code word? And the guy's like, absolutely, I can tell you the code word. It's Hamilton. And I'm like, what? Why would you do that? Like, that is so weird. So upon finding out that like this whole thing is now a trap, he tries a few different things to try and get his daughter to leave, even suggesting they go underneath like a pop-up stage that appears in like the center walkway just feet from them. And he's like, what's under there? Wouldn't it be neat if we went under there and saw what's under there? She's like, Dad, that is insane. You are acting weird. And he's like, oh man, I am acting a little weird. I need to calm down here. So he now needs to find a way to get both him and his daughter out of the concert together, because he's not just going to leave without her. So solid premise, and he's a few pieces of information to like try and escape. Like I said, the quest heavy dialogue aside, I really did enjoy the premise. I'm going to try not to do a play-by-play, but like they make so many weird decisions in this movie with so many mistakes, right? So he uses his newly acquired ID badge that he swiped from the merch man. He enters a break room that is being used as a staging ground for like the SWAT team. And the SWAT team leader is going over the specifics of the operation in the employee break room as if he wouldn't have had a full briefing on this elsewhere, but it needs to happen for the sake of what? The audience, so we can have Hartnett understand the exposition. It's so weird. And instead of like standing off to the side, waiting for them to finish, or like casually walking around them, and you see this in the trailer, he walks straight through them in the middle of a briefing that they should have already had before this. It's so bonkers insane. No one questions him, right? They don't stop him. He just walks right through, grabs a coffee, even helps somebody get sugar, and then walks back out. It's so weird. He grabs like a radio, so we get to listen in on like police chatter, and that's when we listen to like there's a profiler running the op. And like, thank God she decides to go over every last detail she would have said in any numerous briefings prior to this. But what's really weird is like during that, they discuss like what a possible description for him could be. And it describes him pretty accurately. So they would have known this in advance. And he just walks through a crowd. He's exactly what they've been describing. And nobody notices or cares. It's so dumb. It's just absolutely dumb. So he's also like apparently magic, and he's capable of like tremendous things just off camera. Like, I can't wait for the pitch meeting on this, because he's going to have a field day ripping into this one. There's literally a part where he's standing in the middle of a crowd of people. There are several employees in a busy kitchen. He takes 2 jars of canola oil, which are shown to be directly behind the register, puts them in the deep fryer, turns it up, and sneaks back into the crowd without anyone seeing him. It is like so bonkers. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's a scene later on in the movie where he beats up a singular SWAT officer off camera, is able to dress in his gear and run around to the front of his house. I'll get into that. Get in a limo and drive off with Lady Raven. Another thing I will get to here in a moment. Trust me, it is bonkers. And all this within the time it takes to breach his house, because SWAT says, oh, he's in the back. We see him. Let's go, go, go. So he takes the limo off, right? It gets surrounded by fans, and Lady Raven is able to scream for help. So they all flock to it, right? So while his limousine is surrounded, he's able to get out of his SWAT gear into street clothes that happen to fit him, by the way, set up a dummy in the driver's seat that looks like him. So when SWAT does show up, they're like, there's somebody in the driver's seat. And then he's able to sneak out of the car, out of the driver's side, which is street side, to the sidewalk side, and blend in with the crowd without anyone seeing it. It's so dumb, right? And these things, like, they just keep stacking up. Now, you probably are like, all right, Derek, how does he steal Lady Raven's limo from the front of his own house? Because you've seen the trailer and you're thinking, Derek, you moron, this movie takes place during a concert, you dummy. The whole point of it is impossible for him to escape as the police net closes in around him, stupid. Well, this is where Ryan George's catchphrase would really shine, as it is super easy, barely an inconvenience for him to escape, which he does an hour into the film. That's right, 1 hour into an hour and 45-minute movie. It might be a little longer than that, but you get the point. We're like just over halfway. So he constantly collects information from every single character he talks to, and they eventually lead him to going backstage with Lady Raven. Now, Lady Raven, played by M. Night's daughter, is fine singer, but actor, oh my God, she made it clear she's her father's daughter, if you know what I mean. Anyway, he ends up pulling a couple strings, manipulating a few people, and he gets to go backstage with Lady Raven. It's where he hears that, like, they're amping up the police thing and they're going to interview every man who comes out. So he walks up to Lady Raven and he goes, hey, by the way, I think you're looking for me. I'm the butcher. And he has like this phone app that shows like the guy chained in the basement. He's like, if I press this button, it'll release carbon monoxide and kill this dude. So first of all, who built that app? You know, he's a firefighter. He's not like a software engineer. If he had been like a tech guy, maybe I could get it. But like somebody built him this app. So like that's just weird. So she takes them out to her limo by herself, because it turns out if you're part of her entourage, security's not going to stop you. But they're not part of her entourage. They're not pre-screened. They're not pre-checked. It's literally 2 people she just met at the concert. One of them who, by the way, matches the possible description. She has no bodyguards, no friends, no entourage, just her walking out with a stranger and his daughter getting into a private car. How is that not the most like suspicious thing you've ever seen, right? I swear to God, like at that point I realized the real trap was being pulled by M. Night in order to set up scenes for his daughter to act. So lure you in with Josh Hartnett there, but trap you with his daughter. Butcher says, just like drop us around the corner, and Lady Raven instead goes, oh, I'd love to see your house. So they drive the limo to their house, and she doesn't have like a lead car or a follow car. She doesn't talk with anybody to let them know like anything. It's just so weird to have like a pop star just disappear off the grid like that. So she kind of like slowly outfoxes Josh Hartnett in his own home by like trying to pretend like this is a real cool thing for like the daughter, and she ends up taking his phone into the bathroom and using her phone to make like a social media like cry for help. I need you guys. She talks to the guy who's chained up in the basement through the app, and he describes everything he can remember. She goes on social media, describes it. They end up finding the guy. So now he's like, oh great, I'm gonna have to like kill you. He thinks he has his family trapped. They escape. It's all dumb. And this leads to him like in the back of the kitchen where it turns out there's a tunnel to his neighbor's yard, and he beats up the aforementioned security guard and or SWAT guy off screen. And the movie is just so long, bloated. It's got all this teleportation magic and just general dumbness. Like I was so wildly bored by the second half of the movie, and it just wouldn't end. Like Butcher puzzles out that his wife figured out something was wrong with him. She was originally like concerned that he was having an affair, but he smelled of like, what does she say, like hospital disinfectant, so she knew it wasn't that. So she starts thinking, uh-oh, maybe he's the butcher. So she follows him to one of his safe houses, and he had just bought the tickets for the surprise concert, and she like rips part of the receipt and leaves it on the floor, calls it into the police. They come, they find it, and that's what puts them on the trail to go to the arena and talk with like Lady Raven about turning it into a trap. It's so weird. So goes back to his house to confront the wife, and she grinds up a bunch of pills and puts them in like this cake or cheesecake pie or something like that. And he's sitting there just eating it, and he looks down at his plate, and it is covered in powder. It's like a bottle of baby powder exploded all over his plate, and he's like, did you crush up my pills? Dumb. So he gets arrested. On his way out, he picks up his daughter's bike, which had been knocked over, and they let him do that. Well, he rips part of the spoke off, like, and puts it in his sleeve. So as they put him in the back of the prisoner transport vehicle by himself, mind you, he picks his lock, and that's the end of the movie. And he's just like laughing in the back of the truck. It was awful. I mean, the first half of this movie was flawed, but at least interesting. And to be fair, Josh Hartnett did do a fine job with this nonsense. It would have been a much better episode of like an anthology show, and I could have used like a touch more dark comedy. Like have Josh Hartnett realize he's being slowly trapped by police, juxtapose him against not quite understanding his daughter's obsession with Lady Raven. You know, it could have come back and forth between like serious escape stuff, jokes about not understanding tween society. You know, but at an hour and 45 minutes, it's just way too long. I mean, sort of like my ranting on this video. I said I wasn't going to do a play-by-play, but man, once I got going, I just couldn't stop. You know what? Much like the actual movie. So that's enough of the talking about this dumb movie. Well, anyways, thanks for watching, and I'm going to go recover from this, so I'll catch you next time.